Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time with me, thank you for joining me. I hope you stay. Let me quickly state my intention. My intention as Joanna to be the clearest possible channel in order to bring forward information that will help you ultimately shed your limiting beliefs. Why? So that you can embody the truth of who you are, which is your eternal power, which will help you create more of the life that you want and ultimately help you live up to your potential. There is absolutely nothing more fulfilling for me personally as Joanna, aside from love of my family. There's nothing more fulfilling than seeing a client or someone like you realize the depth of what has been holding them back and bring that into their conscious awareness. Because the moment the limiting belief is brought to conscious awareness, it can be transformed and released. And when we release unconscious, deeply held patterns, or what I call our truths, and in particular those that are limiting us, we then have the chance to live up to our higher potential. And even as humans in a limited physical body form, our potential is far more than what we are living up to. And that's because of our deeply held, strongly held belief systems that for the most part are not conscious. And for me, it's very fulfilling to work with people like you in order to help you become more conscious of what has been previously unconscious and therefore not available to you. And if something is not conscious and not available to you, there's nothing you can do about it, which means you go about living your life unconsciously creating, for the most part, everything that you are experiencing. So if you are desiring or interested in becoming more of who you are, in experiencing more of your life in less limited ways, then I hope you stay. I do hope you get something from this material. And I would love for you to click subscribe or click the notification button and little bell. It'll help you, or it'll show you or tell you when I upload new content. It's usually once a week, although that is going to change, I think, because I'm constantly changing. And please share it with a friend or two if you believe that this information is going to be helpful to help him or her reconfigure their own life, transform their own life. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Without you, I wouldn't do this. There would be no need for me to do this. And I've said this many times before, I absolutely love what I do. There is nothing, almost nothing more fulfilling than seeing a person transform in front of my eyes. And I, as you know, love going really deep. The deeper for me, the better. Depth and the unconscious playground is something that I'm fascinated with and absolutely love working with. So thank you so much for coming back. The fact that you are coming back tells me that you are getting something from this information that is useful and helpful to you. So pat yourself on the back, because transforming yourself from inside out is not an easy task. In fact, it is probably one of the most challenging tasks you will ever do, because it's uncomfortable as FAUCK. You'll notice the angle of my camera is different today. My iPad is uploading or updating, so I didn't want to waste time waiting. So that's the angle. So let's see what's happening this week. One of the things that I want to talk about is the energies that are resurfacing for me And the only reason I ever talk about me is because I know that if I am going through it, you are going through it as well. And if you're not going through it right now, you will be shortly going through it, or you might have been going through it for a while. And I often say, when you hear someone going through something challenging, it makes you feel less alone, and that in itself is very helpful. And I have seen you comment on to that regard on my videos. So let's continue with the theme of change. 2022, at least from what I'm being shown, for me and for those who are connecting to my energy or to this energy that I'm channeling, 2022 is a rebalancing year. What does it mean to rebalance? Well, quite simply, it means to bring back balance that has been lost or that has been somehow brought to a place out of balance. And it happens in various ways, but one of the ways that it happens is by recognizing what is out of balance. And one of the things that is very apparent to me as a theme is our need to develop trust in ourselves and trust in the universe. And if you are human, and I'm assuming you are listening to this, despite of what you might be thinking, you're still a human being, chances are that you are a fairly logical person. Majority of people, I believe, from my experience, live in their heads. And there is nothing wrong with that. We need logic. If logic was not necessary, we wouldn't be born with logic. So it absolutely is needed and required. It's very helpful and it's very beautiful. But logic, like our human awareness, is very limited. Which means if we are only inclined to be living in logical reasoning, we are inevitably going to shortchange ourselves in terms of what we can create. And that's because there is more to us than just pure logic. We have access to what's called intuition. And intuition is basically access to your higher self. And your higher self is far, far beyond your logic. And what I am understanding right now and what I am being shown right now is that part of the rebalancing for those who are choosing to rebalance is the ability to learn how to trust one's self. Not just the logical self, because logic is based on our past, on what we have experienced, but trusting the aspect of us that is not easily seen, not easily understood, and maybe even not easily tapped into for the most part. And that's because a lot of the times our intuition cannot be based on logical thinking. And that's because it's got nothing to do with logical thinking. Your intuition is different than your logical thinking, and oftentimes your intuition will tell you something different than your reasoning or your logical thinking, or it's often at odds. And then we are in a situation where we feel like we have to choose. Do I choose my gut feel, which is what some people term intuition, or do I choose my logic, my reasoning? Depending on who you are, you will either choose your gut feel, because you know that your gut feel is connected to a higher source, which goes beyond your logical reasoning, which means it sees and it perceives far more than the limited logical thinking. So if you are that person, high five to you, because chances are that when you follow your intuition, or chances are that when you have followed your intuition, it always served you in the best possible way. That's not to say that logic doesn't serve us. Of course, we need logic. If we didn't need logic, we wouldn't have logic. Reasoning is very important. But we are in times right now where I feel more and more people are returning back to basics. What does that mean? We are returning back to our roots. What does it mean? What does that mean to return back to our roots? Well, first and foremost, to return back to our roots is to understand who we really are and what is our purpose of being here. And if you are here in a physical body, that means that there is a reason for you being here. You didn't just show up because as a soul you had nothing better to do. You decided on some level that it would be important for you to have a physical incarnation or physical embodiment on this planet called Earth in order to help you advance as a being, as an eternal being. And you probably have heard this many times before. I have heard this, that Earth is like school. So what is school? School is something that you go to in order to learn something. And school isn't always easy. Many people don't like going to school. Some people love school, some people don't like school. Some people can't find themselves in particular school settings because it just doesn't resonate. What I'm trying to say is life on Earth isn't easy. And probably it doesn't take me to tell you that. Every single person I have encountered in my life, including myself, will say that life is hard. However, I feel that we can make it a little bit less hard. How? Well, there's many different ways, but for one, when we become more conscious of our roots, which is who we are, then our challenges that we face on the physical plane can become a little bit easier. It doesn't mean we will not have challenges, because after all, this is why you and I are here. We are here in order to transcend whatever it is that we are challenged with, in order to expand our consciousness as beings, as a human being and as a spirit being. And in my understanding, and my understanding is very tiny, I am sure, in comparison to understanding itself of the universe. But in my little understanding, even as a soul, even though we come from an expanded state of consciousness, we're always evolving, we're always expanding. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what existence is. It's always changing and evolving. That's what life is. It's always changing and evolving. But back to the topic of rebalancing. It feels like 2022 is a year where 2022 and moving forward is a year where many individuals, perhaps individuals such as you, is learning how to trust the process of life and communicate with our own intuition. What does it mean to communicate with our intuition? Well, for one, it means to recognize we have it, and to recognize what the purpose is of our intuition. The purpose of our intuition is to guide us, and our intuition is connection to Source. What is Source? Well, in short, Source is everything, including you and I, including the leaves on a tree, including the neighbor you are not so fond of, including the animals you see in a park or in a forest. Source is everything. There is nothing that Source isn't, which means Source lacks no thing. There is nothing or no thing that Source lacks. So, our job is to remember that we come from a place and that we are a part of something that lacks no thing, which means you and I and the neighbor you're not so fond of lacks no thing. You are simply an eternal being having an existence whereby, for the most part, you are forgetting that truth, and that is okay. It's part of the design. It's part of the bigger plan, if you will, and that is that if you had full access to the awareness of you being part of all that is, for one, your physical body wouldn't be able to handle it. Why is that? Because awareness is light. Awareness is energy. Your body will not be able to energetically handle all that frequency. In other words, the more we are aware of who we are, the higher we vibrate. The higher we vibrate, the less dense our bodies become. But we still have to have certain density in order to occupy a physical body. So we cannot have access to all that is at this time because our bodies would combust. Our bodies, physical bodies, would go poof. Our bodies are not designed to handle all that electricity, because that's what it is. Electricity is power. Our bodies, our physical bodies, are not able to design, or are not designed to handle all that power. However, it does not mean that we cannot be more empowered or in our power than we currently are. In fact, that's the whole idea. The whole idea is for humanity to recognize and realize that we are far more powerful than we think we are. And I am not talking about the ego power that says, look at me, I'm strong, I have power over you. No, that's ego. That's actually the smallness of us that is speaking. And there's nothing wrong with that. We are here to experience our ego. It's designed to have edges and limitations because we are here to experience life from a perspective of limited ego. However, even within that limitation, there is vast room for great improvement in terms of how much power we can embody. And when I talk about power, I'm talking true power. The kind of power that makes you look at life and everything that is happening within it, including the chaos and the loss and all the things that we are not in agreement with, and realize it all has a purpose. It all has a reason, and nothing is in vain. And as far as the consciousness is concerned, or the source is concerned, everything is of value. So, everything that you are experiencing and have experienced up until this point, including the experiences that you are less than happy with, including the painful experiences, including the atrocities, it all has a purpose, it all has a reason. And we all can learn from those experiences so that we can become higher vibrating human beings, so that we can become more conscious human beings, so that we can become more loving and accepting human beings. Not only loving and accepting to our neighbor, but first and foremost, loving and accepting to ourselves. Because the more we are loving and accepting of ourselves, the more we are loving and accepting of everything in the universe. So, if you only accept yourself as a 3D human being that is only ruled or fueled by logic, then you are not truly accepting all of who you are. On the other hand, if you are learning to accept that you have this aspect of you called intuition or a gut feel, and that there is more to you than a physical body, there's more to you than what you think and what you believe, and there's more to you than your experiences, then you are in fact tapping to more of your potential. And the idea here is now to begin to trust the universe and to begin to trust the process of change. And unless you've been living under a rock, which is fine if that's the case, no judgment here, we are going through tremendous change. Not only is this change external, this change is also internal. In fact, the reason why there is external change is because we're going through our internal changes, each and every one of us in our own unique way. And the tendency is to be fearful of change. The ego aspect of our humanness does not really like change too much, mostly because change is uncomfortable. Change also creates inner conflict. Change also messes with the status quo. And status quo brings comfort, it brings stability, it brings a certain level of predictability. And change messes with all of that. And the ego does not like that. So we are in a process of massive change. And you listening to this most likely know it. And this massive change is affecting you in some way. And the way it's affecting me personally, which is probably going to affect you in a similar way, I feel like I'm going through a birth process. So if you are a mother, if you have given birth, then you know that for the most part, birth is not a walk in the park. For the most part, there are women who are blessed with having a very easy birth, but that is not generally the case for most women. If you are a male who has not given birth, obviously, and you have seen someone go through birthing process, you can probably imagine that it's quite painful and it's quite uncomfortable. And the interesting thing with the birthing process is that once it starts, you can't go back. You can't say, oh, sorry, I've decided I don't want this. Go back, erase, delete, back up, reverse. I want a refund, please. It doesn't work that way. When birth process starts, it has to continue until the baby comes out. And then we have a brand new experience. And it helps when we have trust through this process, that the body knows what to do, that even though the body is struggling, that there will be others who will be able to help us. Just like a doctor or a midwife or some other professional or a helpful person helps a woman who's going through a birth process. And it's very hard if we don't have trust in those people. It makes it that much more difficult. So it looks like we're in a process of learning how to trust. We are in a process of learning how to trust the process of giving birth to something new. And this something new is a new way of life. This something new is a new aspect of yourself, a new version of yourself. And once you become a mother, you are never, ever again the person before you became a mother. Once you become a mother, that's it. Your life has changed. And for most people, for the most part, for the better. And if you have children, I do have a child. My son is almost 23. You know that when you give a birth to a child, it's probably one of the, if not the most exquisite, immensely powerful experience you'll ever have. Even if you're a father, if you've seen your child come into this earth, it is breathtaking. And it changes you profoundly. It begins the process of creating a life that is now different with this child in your life. And of course, this is a metaphor here. But there is a mourning process that also comes with it. And perhaps many people don't talk about it. You're no longer just able to go and do whatever you want because you're a single person. You now have this little baby you have to think about. You have a responsibility. So what I'm trying to say here is that when we begin the process of birthing our new selves, at the same time, we will go through the mourning of our old selves. In fact, it very much feels like our old self is dying. We begin to experience a process of loss, losing that which always has been, but it's no longer who we are. It's no longer who we are going to be going forward. And generally speaking, when that process starts, you can't go back. So one of the things that might be transpiring right now for you is you might be facing new ways of doing things. Life may be calling you to experience something different, to try something different, to go beyond what is comfortable for you in order to expand your horizons. But the ego does not like to be uncomfortable, so stepping outside of your comfort zone is not always an easy thing. For me, for example, I know that I am shifting and changing internally, and as a result of that, my work shifts and changes. And this is my work, although it's kind of silly to call it my work because it's not my work, it's really who I am. But I do serve people and I do help people, and it's how I earn a living. So in human terms, it is my work. So as I change, my work changes. It's just inevitable. And there's a certain level of discomfort with that, because I am going somewhere I have never been. You are going somewhere you have never been. And that there is a tendency to want to resist that, because there is a fairly there is a sense of a not knowing. There's a certain sense of not knowing. What does that look like? What does my future look like? What is the next version of me look like? And although we have ideas, although we have desires, although we have hopes, we really truly don't know. We just don't know. And we have to trust the process. And we have to trust in the universe. And we have to trust in our inner guidance. So if you are a logical person, a very logical person, and you are going through this process of transformation right now, you may be in a place where logic may not be very helpful to you. In fact, your logic may make you fight the process of change. And you may want to be reaching for things that are familiar, for things that have worked, for things that you are used to. So you may have a tendency to grab onto things that have been, but chances are if you go back, even though it worked in the past, even though it has served you in the past, it's not going to feel the same way, and therefore it's no longer going to serve you. One of the things that I'm experiencing is, and if you've watched me for a while, I go through changes quite often, and I am very cognizant of the fact that if I don't allow myself to go through these changes, then I have no business in helping people transform. Zero. There is just no point in me doing that work, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm not walking my talk. And so when changes are afoot and I can feel it, and it's generally a feeling that comes over me, and shortly after that feeling, universe takes over, so to speak, and it starts to dismantle whatever is no longer working for me. And there's a tendency to want to hold on to that. So in my particular situation, there's a tendency for me to want to hold on to what has been working, except it's really not working anymore because it's changed. I've changed. And because I've changed, the relationship that I have with what has been working is not the same anymore. It feels different. It feels like it's lacking something. So you might be feeling like things that used to bring you joy, things that used to bring you comfort, things that you were used to doing, and they were part of your life creation, they no longer feel the same. It feels like it's lackluster is the word that comes to mind. It feels like something is missing. It feels like there is not enough juice that you're getting out of it, and it just feels kind of blah. But the ego may want to hold on to it. One of the things that I've experienced on a few occasions is I started this channel with reading cards. It was just the way for me to start. I didn't know any other way. I was not as comfortable with channeling and just going into depth on camera. So that's how I started, and that's how people got to know me. They got to know me as Joanna the Medium, and this has attracted a certain type of an individual, someone who wanted messages. And nothing wrong with that. And then I changed to Joanna the Healer, and that brought with it a different aspect of my work. It changed or transitioned the type of information I channel. And now it's changing again. I'm calling myself Joanna the Healer / self-mastery coach. So I'm going deeper. I no longer do card readings per se. I don't do horoscopes. And there's been quite a few people that say, I wish you could go back and do your horoscopes. And there's a little part of me that goes, oh, maybe I should go back and do what people want. And then I'm realizing I can't go back because I've changed. That doesn't bring me joy anymore. And if I continue doing what other people want me to do, well, first and foremost, here's the one thing that I will tell you that I've learned over many, many years of working with clients. What you think you want and what you actually need are more often than not two different things. So my job is to give you what you need more so than what you want. Because what you want comes from your thinking. What you need comes from your soul. When your soul needs something, it goes beyond your thinking. So, for those of you who have followed me throughout all my transitions, I have heard you say that when I changed the way I do these videos, there was a part of you that were like, some of you said it made me angry, but then I realized you helped me get out of my box and listen to my intuition. And when I hear that, I go, yes. This is exactly what my work is to help you get out of your little boxes. It's to help you expand how you look at things. It's to help you change how you see things, how you view you. And that can only come through me upgrading myself, because in order for me to help you shift how you see you, I have to constantly shift how I see myself. That is the only way I'll be able to give you worthwhile information that will stick. When I was doing by the way, if you are interested in having a powerful breathwork session with me and my wonderful healer, Kamel, on February 1st, we're holding a webinar for a breathwork ceremony. And breathwork has absolutely changed my life. As a matter of fact, Spirit told me that breathwork is going to take me to the next level. And they were absolutely correct. I sleep better. I think clearer. I have literally been able to shift energetically, consciously, my awareness and my frequency. And it absolutely elevates my life. And there are so many benefits of breath work. So if you're interested in finding out more about that and actually going through an experience of a breathwork ceremony, a breathwork session, the link is down below. It's on February 1st. It will be recorded, so if you can't join live, you will be able to watch it. The replay will be available within 48 hours, but I would love to have you live. We have quite a few people signed up, so I'm very excited about this. And I have a feeling I'm going to make this a regular thing. So if you're interested, I hope to see you there. Anyway, going back to energies, the current energies, and the idea of trust. The vision that I was given is a stray dog and a person finding the stray dog and wanting to give this dog some food. But it's a stray dog. It doesn't trust people, but the dog is hungry. So this dog comes close to this person who has his or her hands and food in it. So it comes kind of sort of close to the hand that has food in it, but it doesn't trust it, so it leaves. And then it makes a circle and it comes back again. And it comes a little bit closer. And oh, no, I'm not going to trust. And then it leaves again. And it does several circles, and eventually it trusts and it goes and grabs the food, and it realizes the human doesn't hurt me. This is a metaphor for us trusting the universe. that the universe at the end of the day has our back, and that the universe only wants what's best for us. And we are like the stray dogs who are learning how to trust the process. You see, the universe knows no lack. It lacks nothing, which means it's abundant in all ways. Now, of course, we don't see it that way. We don't experience it that way because we are in a very heavy density and we have certain beliefs that are very limiting. And as of course, you probably already know that what we believe is what we create in our life. Everything is mental. And if you don't know this, then this is my purpose at this point of my life to teach. It's to help you realize that what you believe is what you create. And I'm not talking about your conscious beliefs or the beliefs you want to believe or the things you tell yourself you believe but you really don't because you're in denial or you don't understand your truth because it's deeply held within. I'm talking about those beliefs that we held on to that come from early child experiences, including beliefs from our past lives. And even if you don't believe in that, it doesn't matter. You don't have to. It's not a prerequisite. However, in my experience, even though we bring certain beliefs from our lives or different lifetimes, something in this particular incarnation always has to set it into motion. So there's always a triggering event in this particular lifetime. And oftentimes these deeply held beliefs, which are mostly unconscious, are responsible for how we create our lives. And we go about trying to logically do things and, we're very diligent and being very strong-willed and doing everything that we believe we're capable of consciously, meanwhile not realizing that we are holding ourselves back with something that we're not even consciously aware of. And my purpose and my greatest joy is to help you see that within yourself. And obviously I do it in various ways. I do it with clients. I am now working on a program that will help people transform these beliefs by becoming more conscious. So if you are into that sort of thing, stay tuned. In the next few months, you'll be hearing me talking about this. So if this is something that you're interested in, it might be something that may appeal to you. Anyway, I pulled a couple cards to help me kind of reiterate the message. What energies we are moving into. Lead the way. Chances are, if you are watching this, you are either in a leadership position and you are stepping up. You are a leader, but you have not been living that role because of the way you hold yourself back. And the third is becoming leader of your own life. And this is a transition. So if you're watching this, you are more likely than not, are consciously or unconsciously bringing out the leader in you. Leader of your own life, where you are becoming more aware of what drives you and what holds you back. And as a result of being aware, you are able to make choices and conscious decisions and create your life in a more conscious way. So this is about bringing leadership qualities back to the table. Chances are you have been a leader before in different lives, and a leadership quality is birthing out of you, or roles with a leadership quality are calling out to you. You might be a teacher. You might be a guide to people. You might be stepping into a leadership role, or you feel like you're being guided to step into a leadership role, which means chances are there is something that has been holding you back from it in the past. So we're all becoming, or should I say, we're all slowly but surely transitioning to be our own leaders, to be responsible for our own lives, to not so much rely on other people to create our lives for us. We are basically assuming much more of our own responsibility for ourselves. And that's truly where your power is. Now, we live in a world where, although we are free for the most part, we still can't do whatever we want. We can't go rob a bank and assume there will be no consequences. We can't go and kill a person and assume that there will be no consequences. And just because we can't do those things doesn't mean we're not free. We're still free. So, knowing who you are is the number one thing. And again, it's not just the conscious knowing, it's the unconscious knowing. And I often say, probably people are asking, well, how can you know something that's unconscious? That's a very valid question. One way you can understand or see who you are on an unconscious level is to look at your life and what you are experiencing, in particular in terms of your challenges. I had a session with a member client yesterday, and I helped her go through a process where she, for the very first time, realized the real reason why she is so mistrustful of people. And it took her back to when she was about 6 weeks old. Obviously, there was no conscious memory of that. And she also realized that one of the other reasons why she was so mistrustful of the world and people around her is because her mother felt the same way, and she unknowingly, unconsciously projected that onto her. And she's been living with that for 60 years. So yesterday was a new beginning for her. She had no idea how deeply this was ingrained in her ego and how frightened her ego was on an unconscious level. And she allowed herself to be vulnerable with a whole bunch of people watching, something she's never done before. And she had a cathartic experience. And to me, it felt like the angels were singing. It is one of those moments where it's honestly, these are the moments I live for. They're just breathtaking to me. Having said that, it was a very hard experience for her because her ego was fighting this. She had to allow herself to be vulnerable, to feel things she didn't want to feel, to look at the truth she didn't want to look at because it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was not something that we choose to do every day. But she did it. And I believe she's so much happier for it. The other card is, and so by the way, by doing that, by allowing herself to do that, to go through that very difficult experience, a lot of tears, she took her power back. She released what she was holding on to for all these 60 years. And this is the kind of transformation I'm talking about. That's the kind of transformation I'm talking about. She wasn't even aware of this. She said, I had no idea, even though she's quite aware. The next message is Kundalini rising. Ignite your passion for life. So many of you are experiencing Kundalini rising. What does that mean? It means your internal fire is being ignited. And this is a very powerful process, but at the same time, it's a very uncomfortable process. Because when our fire is ignited, it creates a certain level of release. When something is released, some things have to go as a result of this release. And this release creates a different dynamic within ourselves. When that dynamic is created within ourselves, it then changes the outlook of how we see life, how we see ourselves, and how we see ourselves within the universe, within this world. And that begins the process of change. And like I said, change is not comfortable, but it is part of the process. We cannot have something different and better without the process of change. It cannot happen. Just like the client I was giving you an example with, she had to go through a very arduous, very uncomfortable, very painful process of digging into her past in order to release herself from it. There's no other way. So you might be experiencing some painful experiences. You might be experiencing some painful memories coming up to your awareness. You might be experiencing certain experiences that are triggering things from your past, certain unresolved pains, unresolved feelings, feelings about you, feelings about other people. And if there's any advice that I would give you on that is allow yourself to go through this process. And through going through this process and allowing yourself to feel and seeing where this feeling is guiding you to what truth, always ask yourself, what am I feeling? What is this feeling telling me? What is this feeling connected to in terms of what I believe? This is often how you can tap into your deeply unconsciously held beliefs. The card did land in reverse, which tells me that some of you are fiercely resistant to this. And the entire humanity is going through it. Everyone is going through it on their own terms, in their own ways. Everybody has their own unique path. But if you resist the process of change, the one thing that I can pretty much tell you that when we resist, this is usually where the pain is. Psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. So notice what is coming up for you in this process of change right now. Remember, we are in a space of rebalancing, which means we are in the process of regaining our power, our truth, not the ego power, our truth, which means we are releasing that which has held us back from truly embodying our power, which is our ego, which is what we think about, which is how we feel about ourselves, which is our truth, our illusion, the illusion of who we think we are. If you are in this process of change and you are lost and confused, which would be a very standard procedure as far as I'm concerned, don't be afraid to reach out for help. Remember, just like a woman who's giving birth, she has to trust there will be someone there to help and guide her, a doctor, a nurse, a midwife, or some other person who will be helpful in the process of her giving birth. There are people out there who are willing and helpful to help you do just that. You don't have to do this by yourself. In fact, it is very difficult to do it by yourself, because it's very difficult to guide yourself to somewhere where you don't know where you're going. Or it's, if when I'm working with a client and I guide them through a process that allows them to go back to being 6 weeks old, they can't be the thinker in that process. They have to be the ones that kind of follow my guidance. I have to do the thinking for them. So there's only so much we can do by ourselves. Then we have to allow other people to help us in various ways. So all I'm saying is, whether it's a friend, whether it's a trusted person, whether it's a coach, a guide, a therapist, a healer, don't be afraid to ask for help. We're all here to help each other. At least that is what I believe. At the end of the day, if we were supposed to be by ourselves, we would be born on the island, and we would be island to ourselves. So that is what I have for you. I thought I was going to do the 3 cards, but again, it's not happening this week. Maybe next week it's going to be different. I'm just following the guidance, but I know that my work is changing again, so how these messages are going to come through is going to change again. So if you love the 3 cards but they didn't happen this time, just notice if there is something in this general message that you can benefit from, and try not to hold on so tightly to what you think you want. Instead, be open to what is coming to you, because maybe there is some nugget of gold there that is going to give you exactly what you need. Okay, so this is what I have for you. I would love to see you on during the breathwork ceremony. Of course, if you would like me to help you discover or uncover and therefore release what keeps you stuck or your limitations, that information is down below. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of yourself, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.